Man, that's good. What's up, nerds? This is MonsterKoala. Welcome back to Pantheon Lore of the Fallen. It's been a while, but I'm so excited to be back. Today on Pantheon Lore of the Fallen, we're going to be talking about the Black Rose and the Atlas and Wild's End. So, let's strap in, get it going, get it started, get it poppin'.
The section of the lore entitled The Black Rose is subtitled The Fall of Imani Karos and the Rise of the Black Rose. This is an interesting story that I think will give us some insight into how dungeons and raids will be set up in Pantheon as far as the lore goes. So it begins with, here on Terminus, the currents of faith are swift and change without warning. Such was the case of a prized and fast-rising Thronefastian officer named Imani Karos, who stood at the forefront of the Empire's thrust to expand beyond the continent of Kingsreach. Karos rose from the poorest class of Thronefast and became a champion of the faceless and misfortuned. His instincts on and off the field of battle and his charisma and poise were envied by both nobles and regulars. The tale of the night of his demise has changed quickly over the last 7 years, so either Kairos was caught in the act of treason and fled like a common thief, or perhaps he was innocent of all charges, betrayed by a jealous rival, and hunted down like a rabid animal. It says here, what is clear is that the fallen, favored son of Thronefast escaped that night and rebelled against his parent city before the first light of dawn. With the ferocity and suddenness of an ocean storm, Karos recruited expert criminals and military refugees from across the globe under the banner of the Black Rose. With their power growing, the Black Rose occupied an abandoned fortress deep within the recesses of Avendir's Pass. From this fortress, Karos and his allies have planned a decade-long campaign of calculated hostility against the throne. Here is stated something I find very interesting. It says, it is inside those walls of the Keep Leon that the secrets of the most wanted man in Thronefast still burn like the heart of a youth torn from the embrace of the woman he loves. So, in every stream and mention, the dungeon itself is called Black Rose Keep. If it were abandoned before being known as this, why would these brigands retain the name Keep Leon? I'm not too sure. The section is concluded, to this day, the goal of Karos and the Rose is fitted with a mask just as mysterious as the night he fell from grace. So, this excites me a lot. I mean, if this text were offered at the beginning of a quest leading up to the dungeon or raid, I'd be so intrigued. I think it's specific enough that we know why we're going to be raiding the keep, but it's vague enough that we don't know all the facts. I would hope that along the way we could fill in many of the unknowns given to us. What really happened that night? Are there any witnesses who could give us more information? Perhaps Karos has some family who still live in Thronefast? What are the dangers of this great Keep Leon? And of those who occupy it, are they all fully loyal to the Black Rose? What are their individual motivations? Simply to see Thronefast fall? It would be very interesting to find out, I think. So it also seems to me that, given the multi-tiered way that each of these dungeons will be set up, the fall of Black Rose Keep is probably going to be a long and arduous endeavor. We may have to sway others to ally with Thronefast so that the keep might be more easily infiltrated. Maybe we'll figure out through some specific source in the keep that the keep receives supplies through a specific route that can be cut off to either make gaining entrance easier or draw them out. It's also possible that we're going to be finding out more about Imani Karos and his lieutenants as we go through Black Rose Keep maybe the first time once we defeat that lady at the beginning. She gives us a little bit more information, and then whenever we come back, we use that information to get into the next section. And once we're able to defeat those guys, we get more information that brings us to the next section. Once we get to the level of that section, it seems like these raids could give way to legendary quests that are they're like their own quest lines, but they are drawn out through a long period of time where you just keep going back to Black Rose Keep. You can't really just go in and defeat Karos and get everything or get your rewards then in just one simple dungeon. You're going to be going back each time, getting new information, trying to take down Karos as you do that. Hopefully I'm correct on that it's, the multi-tiered dungeons and raids are not going to be multi-tiered only through level, but they're also going to be multi-tiered through quest lines or storylines, and I think that's entirely reasonable. I'm probably just saying things that they have already considered. So of course it may not be as complicated as all of that, but it seems like there is endless potential, and I've never been more excited about a dungeon in my life, I gotta say. So if we continue from there on the website, we proceed to the Atlas of Terminus. So I will say that this atlas is old. It's from the Kickstarter days, if I'm not mistaken. I don't imagine that it'll change much. I'm not sure on that. I'm sure that we'll get an updated atlas, especially as development progresses. But ultimately, we'll have to see. I'm going to go over some of the interesting information that's offered there. So the text above the atlas begins with a quote. It says, "The age of chaos is ended, the horrors of the deicide war now fading memories in the minds of those who live on. The megalithic sanctums still stand, dormant reminders of the great war. A tenuous peace now exists in this frail age as the races of Terminus seek to rebuild what was lost. The vast scale of this conflict left much of the world forever changed. Once well-known lands are now marred and unrecognizable or lost altogether. But this is the fruit of a handful of brave explorers who embraced the call to chart the face of Terminus once again." So, I'm not sure who is supposed to have written this, but it is interesting nonetheless. Another interesting bit in the introduction above the map, it says, "This is the current known world of Terminus, as expeditions from Kingsreach and Rainfall have only just begun. However, reports are already coming in from the great regions of the east and the frozen reaches of the south." So, I have been told by many people that this means that White Thaw is located in the south. I'm not fully convinced of this, since a lot happened on White Thaw, while not as much happened in the eastern regions, other than the small mentions of the Greater Save. It's also conceivable that there is another frozen continent in the south, just as the Earth has an Arctic and Antarctic at the poles, and then we also have that big frozen bit. I honestly don't know why they would include that if it wasn't White Thaw. I mean, they do say frozen reaches to the south, but that could be anything. Anyway, we'll continue on that. It's obviously, not something that we can debate on right now. So next is Wild's End. This is a pretty cool section. Hopefully they come out with more sections like this on each of the major regions that we'll be visiting in the game. The section on Wild's End begins with a long quote. I'm going to try to summarize it here. So apparently at the end of the Deicide War, Wild's End, which was neglected with fear by the humans who named it the Dead Foot, was the host of the final skirmishes between the Revenant, the Sacred, and the Withered. So it's not stated here who the Withered are, but it does say in a quote, "Who are the Withered, you ask? Perhaps it is discovery you seek rather than mere words, for in Wild's End the present perils are of ancient origin, while the scale of vegetation and wildlife reduces even giants to specks of flesh. That's super interesting. So it doesn't answer who the Withered are, but it gives us some insight into what Wild's End looks like, and how just large in stature everything within it is. Even with these battles scarring the region, the abundant rebirth of the landscape is mysterious. It says, "From the maze of the grove grass to the tower oaks of Sorhirith, even the insects that swarm about in between are exaggerated hulks." This land was a fitting beast to acquire even the halflings, with their familial culture and accord with nature. Wild's End, a land no other people found suitable, was the perfect home to a people who could suit any land. The record of Wild's End traces back to before any of the Sacred Six arrived. It says, predating the Dragon Accord itself by years unknown. These histories speak of an ancient and peaceful cult devoted to internal fervency, external communion, and the prosperity of the nature around them. Apparently something terrible has happened to these people. It says, "And in their place came the haunt of wraiths. The chants of worship returned as echoes of terror. In the indifferent manner in the land turned wild, its reputation leaving it untouched until the appendix of the War of Gods. Yet into this wilderness stepped the intrepid halflings, and under their quick eye and relentless hand the land has found its old prosperity." So personally, cults interest me a lot. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I'm super interested to learn more about this cult. Hopefully we can, since they're ancient and predate the Dragon Accord. It's possible that we won't be able to, but it seems like Wild's End is going to be a place that is just rife with these kinds of ancient things. We'll talk a little bit more about that coming up. Wild's End's vast landscape features many different environments. Firstly, a vast and violent swamp, then a pristine pond of translucent depth and mineral rejuvenation, then a decrepit temple of the dispossessed, a craven offshoot of the pioneer halflings, and finally the elevated home of the halflings, Sorhirith. It's stated, "Today the affairs of the halflings weave almost imperceptibly through the undomesticated pasture," meaning Wild's End, of course. The quote concludes with this, "For all told, this sliver of Kingsreach is much greater than a mere city, and it cradles mysteries far older than its newest inhabitants. It is a long and twisting hallway where rooms are bright and dark, restorative and vicious, and the doors are never locked." So there's a video here showing Wild's End, and then some of the locations within are detailed after that. Sorhirith, which is the home of the halflings, it's described as a winding, vertical, and peculiar city built amidst the massive tower oaks of Wild's End. Within live three primary branches of halfling society. You have the Escap, spelled ESQAP, the Maiden Clan, spelled MAIDYN, and the Nothi. All of these live in relative peace, distinct but not segregated. We'll talk a little bit more about these three distinct ones in a future video. And finally, there's a quote here, the hollows and burrows mingle seamlessly with the Titan trees, a testament to the halfling skill of adaptation. While most travelers are joyfully welcomed here, the instincts of the host race are sharper than the daggers beneath their cloaks. Secondly is the well pond. The section begins with something pretty interesting. It says, "The first area a starting halfling will likely venture to once outside the safety of Sorhirith is the well pond. This pool, a naturally occurring phenomenon, is amazingly deep and is filled with equally amazing and dangerous things. And apparently at the center of this pond, there is something called a hollow stone. It is revered by some and is one of many throughout Wild's End." Next is the grove grass. a formidable labyrinth of paths enclosed by dense bamboo-like foliage. One cannot gain entry to or leave Wild's End without passing through the grove grass. There is a passage entitled Riddle of Roads, which is described as haunting, that is rumored to harbor hidden insight into traversing the grove grass. It is available to the most perceptive travelers. This saying that it is available to the most perceptive travelers, makes me think that the perception system is going to play a big role in traversing not just the grove grass. I mean, it's a labyrinth, so it would make more sense for that to incorporate the perception system than anything else, but being that Wild's End is incredibly wild, this might not be the only time that we have to use that. I would imagine, especially with all of the ancient things all around, the stuff that we've seen where the perception system gives you different bits of lore, hopefully, and probably definitely, that's going to be a big part of finding out the history of Wild's End and all the details within. And the grove grass is obviously very dangerous. A labyrinth with monsters, of course. And then we have the Mad Moor. It is a sprawling region of Wild's End, which is home to a wide array of treacherous creatures, which will overwhelm an unwary adventurer amidst the diverse atmospheres of the grueling environment. So I'll quote these warnings because I like how they're written. It says, "Beware the feralings, debased halflings who have lost their essence, consumed by their hunger for the hunt. Here you will also find the Moor Vaki and their king, a deadly reptilian race embattled against the feralings. As you venture within the overgrowth, fear the colossal boas of the moor, which relentlessly grow in size and hunger, and always beware the creeping cess." And then after that, we have the Gate. After being warned of the wraiths occupying the area known as the Gate by the elves, the halflings chose to settle Wild's End. They glory in destroying the legacy of the one who cursed them so long ago. And then we have a very interesting conclusion. It is inside the Gate where adventurers will find the ancient halls of the Withered in quest to uncover some of Terminus' most primeval and guarded secrets. Definitely a dungeon. Gotta be. So I would like to note here, the halflings have their stature because of a curse given to them by one of their Pantheon. His name is Molst. He's known as the Laughing Wraith, the King of Specters. I actually don't know if he is definitely of the halfling Pantheon. Otherwise, I'm not sure what he would be. We'll cover this more later whenever we talk directly about the halflings, but for now, know that the halflings hate wraiths and specters with unmatched fervor. Again, it says, they glory in destroying the legacy of the one who cursed them so long ago. And that's it for today. We're not going to do a speculation video about this. There's a lot of information that ties into it that we haven't covered yet. And as far as the Black Rose and the Atlas goes, I already did some speculation. I think I did as much speculation as you can on those, given what we know right now. And so for the next episode of Pantheon Lore of the Fallen, we'll be talking about races. We'll most likely start off with the halflings so that we can get a little bit of context for Wild's End. So I'm hoping to categorize them by regions. If we do the halflings, hopefully we can fit in the elves as well as the humans. And then we'll do the dwarves, the Archai, and the gnomes from Whitethaw. And then we'll do the ogres, the Scar, and the Darkmere. But anyway, I would also like to thank you guys for being patient with me. This last month has been hectic in real life for me, and it's been terribly exhausting, and we're making a change. So we're going to pick this stuff back up. We'll be having Tavern Talk again, all of those things. It's going to be great. So, as always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you again next time on Pantheon Lore of the Fallen. Thanks!